It's the final day of the season for Ferrari Challenge Japan, and the conditions at Okayama have shifted. Yesterday wasn't a bright or sunny day either, but today the rain and the clouds have converged over the circuit in a more prominent fashion. We had a very wet and tricky qualifying session with lots of damp patches on the circuit earlier on, and that has continued on into this race. This is the Group B race, which is for the Coppa Shell AM division, in addition to the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo class. And we understand that this race will begin under safety car, and it is the race that will determine the 2025 Ferrari Challenge Japan Coppa Shell AM champion. And this man, the pole sitter, Alex Fox, is in the hot seat to become that champion today, so long as he finishes clear of his closest rival, Masaharu Katamata. He doesn't even have to finish ahead of Katamata, but he needs to score a few points in today's race to secure himself the championship after a successful run yesterday. And he's given himself an extra point, of course, with pole position as well. So all things are pointing in a very positive direction for Alex Fox and the Yanase Fiorano Merturi dealership. You see there, in addition to the 296 Challenge cars, on the back row of the grid, the pair of 488 Challenge Evos. Michito Hirota was yesterday's winner in that division, but it was Yusuke Yamaki who has already wrapped up the championship. The championship has been decided in that division. Here is your championship competition. The only driver that can knock Alex Fox off of the top mantle, Masaharu Katamata. He needs a lot to go his way. He needs to finish in the top two here. So he'll need to gain some positions, and more importantly, he's going to need Alex Fox to lose some positions. For Katamata, for Nicole Competizione, it's certainly a back foot situation. Yesterday's race winner, of course, was Yasuhito Fukue. We had the early lead belonging to Hiroyasu Sahara, but there was a red flag triggered by an error from Sahara, and he's not back on the grid today. Also missing from this grid is Liang Chen Yu. As I understand it, the 193 car had a problem during qualification, caused by these wet conditions and just getting caught by a puddle, and not the ending to the season that the Chinese driver would have favoured, but he'll come back swinging after a very successful rookie season. I look forward to seeing more from him in 2026 here in Ferrari Challenge Japan. So Alex Fox will lead them away here at Okayama, a wonderful circuit with sectors of contrasting character. It's pretty fast and sweeping from turn 2 through to that long back straight towards turn 5, then becomes a lot more technical thereafter. We saw yesterday some of the exciting wheel-to-wheel racing that can come here with these Ferrari 296 Challenge cars. Certainly the new generation of Ferrari Challenge machine, the 296 that was introduced into the Japanese series this year, has been offering stellar action all throughout the season. This is the first time that we are separating the divisions into two grids. You might be thinking, well, where are the drivers I know from Trofeo Pirelli AM and Coppa Shell? The answer is that they will be racing in almost exactly 2 hours' time, and all three of those championships are still on the line as well. So in addition to crowning the Coppa Shell AM champion very shortly, we do still have 3 more championships to decide after this race concludes. So then formation lap strictly, but also the clock already ticking on the race. 29 minutes 25 and ticking down on the half hour plus 1 lap as we go into safety car. So the race is officially underway. And we'll see how many laps they elect to do behind the safety car, but they're using the option to have a single file start effectively rather than going 2 by 2 as we would in typical circumstances. Alex Fox joined by John Leo on the front row of the grid, Takashi Kurakawa and Takeshi Shigaki next. Masahiro Katamata needs to do some work from 5th. He's alongside Yoshifumi Komatsu, Kako Onfukwe in 7th and 8th positions, and then it is Yusuke Yamaki and Michito Hirota on the back row. No Liang Chenyu, no Sahara either. And here you see for the first time the lap in full in these conditions, and pretty uniformly wet around the track. They will be leaning on the Pirelli P0s with the tread, the wet tyre, for their grip in this race. Also have to take heed of the circuit as it evolves, as the conditions change. It doesn't look incredibly wet. There's not a massive amount of standing water around the circuit, but it's certainly not going to dry up sufficiently, I don't think, in half an hour to require slicks. Expecting towards the end of the race, if the rain stays away, it might get a little bit skittish out there on the circuit. We're going to have one more lap under safety car conditions here. The lights still on under the safety car. The race has officially begun, but for now our leader is the Ferrari 296 GTB road car, Alex Fox, the first proper leader, the first proper competitor here, as we break the beam to start lap number 2. Normally, this would be our start to the race. So we will watch on with interest here to see how many laps they do. It is typical procedure, if there's been a change of conditions between sessions, to do a pair of laps behind the safety car. I suspect we might do the same here, just give the drivers the opportunity to run a couple of laps to suss out the conditions under their seats and under their right pedals. For Alex Fox there in that 139 car, he has 81 points in the championship. Sorry, 82 points in the championship, while Masahiro Katamata has 73. So 9 points between them. In fact, that's before qualifying. So in actuality, it's 83 and 73 as we get bulletin that safety car is in this lap. Of course, Alex Fox has already scored a championship point today with pole position, so it is a 10-point deficit, which means that if Katamata works his way up from 5th to win this race, at a bare minimum, he's going to need Alex Fox down in 6th position. It's going to need to be a race of contrasting fortunes for Alex Fox to lose his grip on the championship. The race has technically been running for 2 laps, but let's call this the proper start. We're about to launch into racing speeds here at Okayama. Single file, they make their way through the final corner. Alex Fox takes over the baton as the lead car as we go racing at Okayama. John Leo follows suit in second place. He'll be looking for better fortunes than he had yesterday. He didn't really get much racing in at all, didn't complete the first lap as memory serves correct. Bit of a drift wide there from, I believe that was Shigaki. As everyone's... Oh, we've had a moment immediately. That's Kurakawa on the exit of turn 2, has found the barrier. Car is still drivable, but I dare suggest it's not all pointing the right way. But an immediate illustration of how tricky it is, even with this 296 challenge car, which managed to be an extremely sharp yet an extremely usable tool. 700 horsepower ultimately is 700 horsepower. In these conditions, it's very hard to manage. It is then Alex Fox in the lead. John Leo retaining second as this race fires into life. There's Katamata now third. He's picked his way up 2 places. Of course, one through unforced error, but one through getting his way past a rival and already into the top 3. We'll have to see how his pace compares to Alex Fox to try and get a read of what's going to happen from here. There is the 102. Takashi Kurakawa, sorry, rather than Shogaki, the driver that went off the circuit there. Apologies for that, it was Kurakawa who had his moment on the first lap of the race. Shogaki has subsequently fallen back behind Masahiro Katamata, so they're 2 drivers that have both lost time, but in contrasting fashions. For Kurakawa, I suspect the race may be at its conclusion as we get a replay of the race start. You can see there Shigaki and Kurakawa were almost side by side coming into frame at the penultimate corner. It was a fairly standard procedure single file start at the beginning of the race. Unfortunately though, our driver in third place, Takashi Kurakawa, would not make it beyond the second corner before having a moment. We saw as well Shigaki running wide at turn 1. Sometimes that outside line is favourable in this style of weather condition. But ran it out too wide there. Had to really stamp on the brakes, I think, to avoid a trip to the sandpit. We rejoin the Grand Testa Nagano drivers of Yusuke Yamata and Michito Hirota running in the 488 class, and a doff of the cap to Takashi Kurakawa. He's not been put off by the off-track moment. He's still running. I don't think he's come into the pits either. I assumed he would visit the pit lane, but maybe he is going to, because that's not the normal line coming out of that hairpin. Potentially realising not all is well underneath him. He's given it a go. He's kind of gone out there and tried to make the car work underneath him. And a spin there for Hirota. Just over-rotating the rear slightly. That's going to give Yusuke Yamaki a little bit of breathing room as we see Takashi Kurakawa's 155 car into pit lane. They're going to have a look. Quite incredible that that car was running still at racing speeds despite that collision at turn 2 with the tyre wall. We'll see whether Kurakawa makes it back out there. Alex Fox is driving away at the front of the field. 6.9 seconds clear last time by. Really controlling proceedings here with John Leo behind him, and for Alex Fox it's that little additional layer of protection at the moment, having John Leo there in second place. His title rival Masaharu Katamata is there in third position. Again, I remind you, Katamata needs to comprehensively outscore Alex Fox with what is now a 10-point lead in the championship in favour of the Frenchman. So Katamata needs a big swing in his favour in what's left of this race. John Leo there getting a little bit unsettled under braking. Might force him to knock the brake bias forward a percentile or two. And the rear end is squirreling away underneath you. Often, of course, that can help you with corner entry if the rear is a little bit pointy, but in these conditions, I think some just want that stability underneath. Looks like Shigaki is by no means out of this podium hunt either. Katamata is going to have to watch the mirrors from that perspective. He wants to make forward progress. He wants to find his way around John Leo, but he's not going to be undisputed for that third position, with Shigaki keeping a watching brief and a little look to the inside there as Katamata tried to get the car turned in. At 250 kilometers an hour, this car makes 870 kilos worth of downforce, but we're not getting to 250 pretty much everywhere except that long back straight. This is a lot more about mechanical grip and the setup underneath you, and Shigaki there trying to go all the way around the outside at the Hobbs corner. Didn't make it work there. Some great corner names here at the Okayama circuit, and we might be about to have an interesting drag race down to the first corner, which is creatively titled The First Corner. But for now, Katamata remains in third position. It's now towards turn 2, known as Williams. Following that, the Moss S into turn 4, the Atwood curve. Curve now. The gap at the front, 7.7 seconds between Alex Fox and John Leo. The Frenchman is systematically growing that gap. Exactly what he needs to be doing. He's been a part of the Ferrari Challenge community since 2019, a 2020 Coppa champion in Europe, and was absent from Ferrari Challenge since the end of 2022 before joining us for the season opener at Suzuka this season. And he's stuck with it. He's been with us all year long. And he's now 15 minutes plus 1 lap away once again becoming Coppa champion, this time on a different continent. I don't think that's entirely unprecedented. We do have some globetrotters in the Ferrari Challenge space, but certainly a great achievement. Some of our drivers will be at Finale Mondiali in October, and we've seen Ferrari Challenge Japan drivers win races there previously. Motohiko Isosaki, a couple of years ago, a race winner at Finale Mondiali. As we watch Katamata and Shigaki still fighting away, and you saw there Katamata having to stab the brakes to keep the rear under his control there coming out of the first corner. All of this is allowing John Leo to build himself a little bit of an advantage. John won't be looking into the mirrors anything like as often, with Katamata now fallen behind. Shigaki getting to purely focus forward, of course, with a 4.8 second gap between himself and the number 1, 2, 3 of Yoshifumi Komatsu, who runs 5th in class right now and 5th overall to boot. Komatsu, who finished 7th in the 2023 Coppa Am standings, was 9th back in 2024 last year, so 7th in 23, 9th in 2024. And Komatsu currently 6th in the point standings. He's had a couple of DNFs here and there that haven't helped his case, but it has been strong at times, has been on the podium. Watch Katamata and Shigaki. Shigaki again favouring that karting line, that outside line. You can imagine that his driver coach has been steering him in that direction this morning. Reminding his student of the basics. It does look to me like we've got a bit more spray. We're seeing some water on the camera lenses. I think it isn't just the spray being kicked up from the cars. I think we do have a little bit more precipitation in the area. We're getting a replay here, I believe, of the 488 challenge battle. Our new champion, Yamaki, had been caught back up by Hirota. Of course, we saw Hirota have a spin earlier on, but that seemingly didn't perturb him. Very nice move through 1 and 2 to take that class lead, and now Yusuke Yamaki trying to rally and fight back, but for now the 201 car leading the class for the last of, potentially the last of, the V8 powered Ferrari Challenge cars. Of course, the V8 motor a mainstay throughout those early generations, 348, 355, 360, 430, 458, and then the first turbo 8-cylinder engine for the 488 296, utilising a 3-litre V6 power plant. Of course, that is dehybridised as well compared to the 296 GTB road car. Still making 700 horsepower. A gnarly beast is the Ferrari 296 Challenge. A very capable car at that as well. Here's your battle for 3rd place again, and Shigaki still not finding a way past Katamata. He's looked very racy for a very long time at this point. Hasn't given Katamata nary a moment of reprieve. Katamata has, especially in the last 2 or 3 laps, been purely driving through the mirrors, seeing what Shigaki is doing. But to be fair to Katamata, he's retaining the racing line. You see when Shigaki goes wider, when he takes the outside through the final turn and threatens to potentially draw alongside, it doesn't seem to shake Katamata. He just focuses on getting that corner exit right, applying the power efficiently without excess slip to the rear. Katamata with a considered drive, I think, is probably the best way to put it. Here comes Shigaki, though, around the outside. He's going to set himself up nicely if he can just get to the inside line at Revolver Corner, and he can. But just cutting the nose off there is Katamata. Great, respectful, close racing between the two of them. Really, really good stuff from both parties to stay clean there. You can see Katamata taking a bit of a leaf out of Shigaki's playbook there, taking the wider line through the right-hander. Interesting to note that Yasuhito Fukue doesn't appear to be quite as comfortable in these conditions. We saw him win the race yesterday, but no repeat of that here, a distant 7th place at the moment. Meanwhile, Shigaki is going to have the inside line and the run into the first corner. As the nose ahead was a bit later on the brakes, and Katamata runs it straight on. And any chance he had of sticking with it around the outside goes up in smoke. And that's a step backwards in a race where he needed to move forwards to have any chance in the championship consideration. Alex Fox will likely receive that information that his title rival has fallen from 3rd to 4th place. All procedures working to plan for Alex Fox here. Fox, who won 2 races at Fuji across 2 meetings at Fuji. Of course, we went there twice in quick succession in late June and early July. He's yet to win a race this season at any other venue, but right now, Okayama, in these slippery conditions, looks to be playing to Fox's strengths. That was a very close moment. It was a bit wince-worthy in full speed. In slow motion, it doesn't get any prettier, unless you're a part of the Ferrari spares department. But they managed to avoid each other. And then ultimately Katamata trying to turn in a little bit too much under braking. Maybe that brake bias a bit too far forward to allow him to point the nose towards the corner apex. And now Takeshi Shigaki is hunting down John Leo for 2nd position. For Leo, it must be said, this is by far his best performance of the season. He comes into this weekend with 8 points to his name, and he's currently on course for 12 points just from this race. Leo has had the occasional points finish, but this is a standout drive from him, regardless of whether he finishes 2nd or 3rd. His wet weather skills are to be commended. Let's see if he can hold off the charging Takeshi Shigaki. Shigaki, who himself has only scored 20 points this season. Currently having by far his best outing of the year. Best finish this season of 6th position, I make it. Right now, in a podium place and hunting for that P2. The wet conditions slightly changing the established running order. Playing to some drivers' strengths and to other drivers' weaknesses. Stunning backdrop of the rolling hills and the low-hanging clouds here at Okayama. Gorgeous part of the world we are in here. Of course, this facility has hosted some of the very highest levels of not just Japanese motorsport, but also global motorsport as well, whether it's the early years as TI Aida while it was Formula 1 here. And look at this, a lovely lunge to the inside from Shigaki. The door was left open a little bit there by John Leo, and I think, it's Katamata. Katamata is off the circuit. Well, the championship was looking likely for Alex Fox anyway. But as the 102 car digs its rear axle into the gravel, what felt like a potential championship win is now much more of a certainty. For what it's worth, if Katamata can't get the car going, he should still be safe for 2nd in the points. As we go to safety car conditions, Yuliang Chen did not get to take the start today, and Hiroyuki Katayama is not present. Yasuhito Fukue is his next closest competitor, therefore 5th in the points. And Fukue is not going to be able to score enough points to take 2nd in the championship standings. So in terms of Coppa Shellam, 2nd in the points, I think Katamata and that error won't be too costly. But for Alex Fox, it is not confirmation until he crosses the line, but it is certainly a signed and sealed envelope that only needs to be delivered. The safety car is out with less than 4 minutes of the race left to go. We'll see whether we go back to racing conditions or not. Of course, with 3 minutes 35 left to go, you'd go, well, don't see the snatch vehicle getting that car out before then. However, of course, there is that +1 lap to consider as well. We may end up with a 1-lap dash. But we'll see how efficiently the corner workers at turn 1 are able to get that car back onto the hard stuff. If we do go back to racing, I'm very interested to see how Shigaki performs up against Alex Fox. He started a little bit slow, did Shigaki, lost a place in the very earliest going, but seems to have really come alive in these wet conditions, and I believe still holding the fastest lap of the race as well. Indeed, some 0.6 quicker than Alex Fox, a 150.631. In fact, 531, sorry. Up against a 151.1 for Alex Fox. So Shigaki has proven to be the quickest driver in these tough conditions. If we do go back to racing, Alex Fox might have to keep a beady eye on that wing mirror. Also, of course, we will see Michito Hirota and Yusuke Yamaki close in with together again. There you can see the 488s in the back of shot, just approaching the safety car queue. So both of our classes on the circuit will be back together again at the sharp end. At least one more lap behind safety car, but the big question is whether we need 2 more laps. If we don't, we will get a 1-lap dash to the flag. This is the moment where Takeshi Shigaki took 2nd position in the race. Fairly easy stuff up against John Leo, who I think wanted to preserve his podium hopes, and while that was happening, Masaharu Katamata went straight on into the kitty litter. Is the cause of our safety car period here. Race started under safety car. I think a few of these drivers would prefer that it doesn't end under safety car now that the field is close together once again. I get the feeling that Alex Fox wouldn't mind a parade finish on this occasion, with the championship looming large in his peripheral vision. Just over the horizon is the biggest celebration he's ever had here in Ferrari Challenge Japan, but he needs to cross the line. And to be fair, he has to cross the line is now only a turn of phrase rather than a reality, with his only mathematical competition in the form of Masaharu Katamata off the circuit. In actuality, Alex Fox doesn't even need to do that, but certainly one doesn't want to finish the season that has been fairly consistent and strong for Alex Fox with a late faux pas. Getting the feeling that we might get a bulletin. exactly as I think that. In comes the safety car, or the bulletin arrives to let us know that the safety car will be in this lap. So we are going to have a one-lap dash. Alex Fox may have to deal with an onslaught here from Kornes Shiba's Takeshi Shigaki. Mentioning there, of course, Kornes Shiba, the dealership from the Kornes stable, and it is currently Kornes versus Kornes for Coppa Dealer as well. That's worth noting. Kornes Osaka with 141 points, Kornes Shiba with 141 points as well. So if we see a winning move here from Shigaki, that would be a full haul of points for Kornes Shiba, and that would also mean that someone from Kornes Osaka will have to match him in the race later on in order to preserve the honour of their dealership group. Kornes versus Kornes in Coppa Dealer. Shigaki has also scored a bonus point already for fastest lap. Can he get himself to the front? This could be critical for the Coppa Dealer standings. It is critical for the Shellam Championship here that Alex Fox holds on. Now, checkered flag on the graphics, but I don't think that's the reality. No, we are still racing. It is a one-lap dash. It is Takeshi Shigaki challenging Alex Fox. We are still racing here. Shigaki around the outside. Can he get himself a good run? Out of turn 4. Yes, he does. Brilliant traction on the outside. Moves forward and past Alex Fox. I don't think Fox is going to be too worried about this one victory versus just crossing the line, bringing home a clean car and a championship. But Shigaki goes straight on. He just gets it stopped, and he just cuts the nose off of Alex Fox for good measure. Shigaki for Kornes Shiba then is set to score 15 points plus the fastest lap point, which would mean someone from the sister Kornes Osaka dealership across the 3 classes in the race later on today would need to do the same. At least 16 points for the Shiba dealer group to win the race in the Coppa Dealer standings. In this race, this specific race, Takeshi Shigaki has worked his way from an early drop to 4th place. He's climbed through the field, and with a little bit of safety car intervention, he's found himself in a position to claim his first win of the season, and I believe his first ever win in Ferrari Challenge Japan to boot. And while he does that, the second place man, Alex Fox, wins the Coppa Shellam title. He is our 2025 champion. A Coppa Shellam champion on 2 continents is Alex Fox. John Leah holds on for his first podium of the season in 3rd place ahead of yesterday's winner Yasuhito Fukue. We just saw there Michito Hirota into the or across the finish line to win in the 488 class, and it seems as though Yusuke Yamaki may have had a slight slip up towards the end of the race there. In fact, no, he's crossed the line too, but Hirota, the class winner in 488s. Takeshi Shigaki then is our race winner today. A full haul of 15 points plus a fastest lap point for him. That's going to be critical for Coppa Dealer. However, as we look at his title rival, Masaharu Katamata, this man, Alex Fox, is the 2025 Ferrari Challenge Japan Coppa Shellam champion. Has been solid all season, but really hit his stride when we arrived at Fuji for the third round of the season. Won the second race at our first visit to Fuji. Immediately followed that up with another win in race 1 on our second weekend in the shadow of the famous mountain. And while Alex Fox couldn't quite win today, he's done more than enough to secure championship glory here in Ferrari Challenge Japan. If I'm not mistaken, that would also make him the first international driver to win a Ferrari Challenge Japan championship, if memory serves me correctly. So a big day for Alex Fox, a big day as well for Takeshi Shigaki. Shigaki, who debuted this season, to my understanding. Certainly had no active record with us in Ferrari Challenge Japan prior to 2025. This is his first season in this championship, and from what I could glean, not much prior racing experience, but certainly seems to be a natural wet weather maestro. Looked incredibly confident. So not 3, but 4 championships to decide later on, with Coppa in consideration as well. And again, the Corners Osaka drivers are going to have to step up after this sweep of the fastest lap and the race win for Takeshi Shigaki of Corners Shiba. Circle back to that Shiba versus Osaka situation later on. Oh, I know that struggle of getting glasses out of a helmet, and indeed fogged up glasses too. But celebrations for Takeshi Shigaki. The first podium, first win. Meanwhile, I'm sure there's an equally big celebration going on at the Yanase Fiorano Merturi end, and sure enough, there is Alex Fox, who I'm sure would have just leant on his race engineer to say, I've done the maths correctly, I'm champion. Yes? Great. Okay. And now he can pop the cork on the bottle on the podium later on, knowing that he has once again become a champion in Ferrari Challenge. I don't know strictly his plans, but I'd be surprised if he didn't decide to partake in the... That's Filippo, I believe, there, saying congratulations on the championship to Alex Fox. Filippo Zania from Ferrari. And yes, I was just going to say, I don't think Alex Fox will be a hard person to convince to join us for Finale Mondiale in October at Mugello. Ooh. Of course, that Finale Mondiale event serving as a celebration of all things Ferrari, but also as a world final, as it were, for all of the Ferrari Challenge divisions. You see there Yusuke Yamaki getting his race suit on. He won the championship yesterday in the 488 division. Was not able to get the final win of the season, though. That went to this man, Michito Hirota, who actually swept this final weekend. A really solid outing from Michito. There is Yusuke Yamaki. I imagine he might be in a 296 challenge car for the full season next year. He was actually in a 296 at Suzuka at the start of the year, and he looked like he was gelling with that car remarkably well, so perhaps we'll see more of the same from that combination of him and the car in 2026. Certainly a day that has presented its challenges to the drivers. It was slippery in qualifying too. But the rain did not deter them. A safety car start would begin the race, and Alex Fox would be very quick out of the gates. For the driver running an early third position, Takashi Kurakawa, he would find himself meeting the tyre wall on the first lap. He was the only real casualty of the early stages, though, as we saw a good 488 battle between Hirota and Yamaki. We also saw this man, Takeshi Shigaki, on the move. This was him making it up to second place. While that was happening, Masaharu Katamata found the gravel. We'd have a one-lap dash to the checkered flag, and it was a dash that Takeshi Shigaki would win up against Alex Fox, the Frenchman, who'd built himself a lovely lead before the safety car. Didn't seem to want to overly push to defend against Shigaki. Just wanted to cross the line and nail that championship. But for Takeshi Shigaki, it is a first win in Ferrari Challenge Japan. And this is one of the really cool things about the grids being split in twain for this weekend, is the fact that the Shellam drivers are getting that spotlight, getting the opportunity to fight for overall victory, which has evaded them, of course, previously with the Coppa Shell, Trofeo Pirelli Am and Trofeo Pirelli drivers all above them in performance. And we're now getting to see these great battles that always do unfold in the Shellam division as the fights for the overall lead, and that's been very exciting on this day. Perhaps not an exciting sight there for our Trofeo Pirelli, Pirelli Am and Coppa Shell drivers. That's precipitation still hitting the circuit. It's just over an hour before those cars roll onto the circuit. We'll be going green with them in about 75 minutes time. And something tells me we're not going to need Pirelli P0 slick tyres. The umbrellas are gathering. Underneath them are the excited personnel looking up and waiting for their drivers to hopefully fairly promptly appear on the podium. The final podium celebrations of the year for Coppa Shellam and the Trofeo Pirelli 488 division. We're expecting that to begin in just a moment or two. I suspect that with the end of term, end of season celebrations, a couple of the drivers are perhaps not thinking top of mind about the journey to the podium, but hopefully it won't be too long. I can see there, I think, our local announcer venturing out onto the podium, so it shouldn't be too long. I think probably done a little bit of a head count and verified that everyone who needs to be there is in fact present. Sure enough, it does sound like the celebrations will begin shortly. And a great bulletin on the bottom of the timing screen in all caps. Alex Fox, 2025 Drivers' Champion. If he gets a look at that, I'm sure he'll give a wry smile. Meanwhile, John Leo to the third step of the podium, his first visit to the podium this year. Our new champion, Alex Fox, to the second step of the podium. But the winner in these difficult, wet conditions, Takeshi Shigaki, our final winner of the Shellam season in Ferrari Challenge Japan.
そして優勝されました正垣武史選手が所属されておりますディーラーコーンズ柴様へはコッパディーラー賞が授与されます。ディーラー代表者の方は2位表彰台のお隣にお立ちください。おめでとうございます。
And here is the dealer representative from Corners Shiba. That entire dealer group will be watching with interest to see what their colleagues at Corners Osaka can do in our race a little bit later on.
それでは3位の選手からお渡しいただきましょう。なんと初表彰台獲得です。ジョン・レオ選手おめでとうございます。
John Leo presented the third place trophy.
そして第2位
The new champ, Alex Fox, receives his second place hardware.
おめでとうございます。
And
そして
Takeshi
なんと初
Shigaki
表彰台があの素晴らし
I'm
い
sure
オーバーテイクでの優勝。
will be finding room on the mantle for that, and I dare suggest it will be on the top shelf.
そしてジェントルマン賞が今第3位のジョン・レオ選手に贈られました。おめでとうございま
A
す。
race like that with those tricky conditions will live in his memory for a long time. The gentleman class win going to John Leo as well, so 2 trophies for him. Coppa Dealers
ドナツ社長ありがとうございました。
trophy going to the Corners Shiba representative.
ドナツ社長もお入りください。それでは中央に皆さん固まっていただきまして、
We'll now join together for photographs.
それではまずは正面
And
の
then for the final time this year, it's time to make it rain champagne, but with it actually raining, will they duck out or will they soak in it one last time?
はい、ありがとうございます。それではですね、オフィシャルカメラマンの方から撮影をさせていただきますので、カメラマンの方に向かってポーズをお願いします。はい、それではドライバーの方3人のですね、フォトセッションを行わせていただきます。はい、ありがとうございます。おめでとうございます。さあ、それではですね、この後はシャンパンファイトに参りたいと思います。
There is your champion,
シャンパンのご用意を
Alex Fox.
お願いいたします。
They're all going to stay to pop the bottles,
すごいレースになりました。
spray the champagne. Alex Fox wins that race as well. But Takeshi Shigaki P1 today in Coppa Shellam. Alex Fox, meanwhile.
イエーイおめでとうございます。改めまして3選手ご紹介いたしましょう。
We reckon his
第
hips
一位は
lie.
ジョン・レオ選手、どうぞ大きな拍手を。
Alex Fox certainly in a party mood. And how who can blame him? A champion, a podium to finish up the season.
そしてシリーズチャンピオンアレックス・フォックス選手、おめでとうございました。
And there you go, the announcement to the crowd that Alex Fox is indeed the champion.
どうぞ表彰台から
Is
ご
he
登壇くだ
receiving
さ
an
い。
additional
おめ
bit
でとう
of
ございました。
hardware? No, but I'm sure there is one waiting in the wings to commemorate his efforts. And judging by the fact he's already dancing, I think it's going to be a fun night for the Anase Fiorano Merturi team. Next up, of course, it will be the 488 category. Yusuke Yamaki already confirmed as champion yesterday, but Michito Hirota having a great weekend, taking 2 wins. Here comes Yusuke Yamaki to the second step of the podium. And then to the top. Michito Hirota, 7th overall. Remains to be seen whether we'll welcome back the 488s next year. I suspect it largely depends on customer demand, but great to see that mix of generations out on the circuit this year. And the 488 still a very sharp weapon indeed. A great car. It's been fun to watch them competing. Michito Hirota has been using it very effectively this weekend. Okayama in the wet, in the dry. But across the season, that man Yusuke Yamaki was the force to be reckoned with.
勝利を勝ち取りました廣田道人選手、おめでとうございます。そしてコッパディーラー賞の贈呈です。グランテスタ長野の皆さん、おめでとうございます。
The representative from Grand Test Nagano receives his Coppa dealer trophy. Both drivers representing that Grand Test Nagano dealership, so there's no way they could lose on this day. The Trofeo Pirelli 488 prize also being given out there to Michito Hirota. And we'll now gather again for some pictures, for some smiles, and some memories made in the 2025 Ferrari Challenge Japan season. I have no doubt we'll see Grand Test Nagano and these two specific drivers, Yamaki and Hirota, back with us in 2026. I'm sure they will also be watching on with interest in just over an hour's time when we welcome the Coppa Shell, Trofeo Pirelli AM and Trofeo Pirelli divisions onto the circuit. But before they think about spectating, there's a measure of celebrating to do.
改めてご紹介しましょう。トルフビリリ488クラス第2位は
Spray it, drink it, whatever you please, as long as you're having fun on the podium. And certainly, they both were. Every. And there was also an announcement there to confirm Yusuke Yamaki as champion. Well then, I imagine this circuit is going to stay wet, these conditions are going to stay tricky, and there are no fewer than 4 championships on the line in just over an hour's time. Here's the result from this race. Takeshi Shigaki winning over Alex Fox on the final lap ahead of John Leo, Yasuhito Fukue, Yoshifumi Komatsu and Satoru Kaku, while Michito Hirota won the 488 division ahead of Yusuke Yamaki. Masaharu Katamata second in the championship in Coppa Shell, but a non-finisher today. Takashi Kurakawa in 10th overall, and that was our last driver to take the start. But a great race from the Shell Am and 488 divisions. Will be back with the other race and more titles on the line here at Okayama. Make sure you stay with us. In just over an hour's time, we determine 4 more championships in the 2025 Ferrari Challenge Japan.